I don't think what we're doing would work for many people. I think it was an historical accident. We didn't do it on purpose. People use the word common sense. What they mean is uncommon sense, because the standard human condition is ignorance and stupidity. And so when they say old Joe has common sense, what they mean is he has uncommon sense. Well, they don't think very well about sex or gambling either. No, the standard human condition is a lot of miscognition. If you can take advantage of other people, you can improve your own life by eliminating your miscognitions. You know, the economy sometimes booms and sometimes it doesn't. And you have to live your life through both episodes. And our attitude is we just keep swimming, and sometimes the tide is with us and sometimes against. But we keep swimming either way. We never printed money so much and spent it so fast and bought back so much debt, public and private. So this is total terra incognita in economics.
Well, some people now say that federal debt is not a problem at all.
Well, if you believe that, you believe in the tooth fairy. Because then we don't have to have any more taxes ever. We'll just print money and live happily ever after. It obviously won't work.
So
there comes a point when printing money is counterproductive.
Are we at that point? Are you concerned?
No, I don't think we are at that point. But nobody knew where the point was going to come. And we don't know now. None of these people who are so pompously sure of things, because we all want reassurance, and so they provide it. But nobody really knows how much of this is too much. It's a problem if enough politicians are screaming about it. That makes it a problem. If it weren't for that, this one will go away by itself. It happened by accident. We were in desperate trouble. We were on the eve of a great recession that could have been a Great Depression, and then followed by the rise of people like Adolf Hitler and so on and so on. So we faced a real catastrophe. The only weapon they had with this huge was to print money and spend it. And they did it. Well, of course, and they drove interest rates down to zero, or real interest rates. Well, of course, that lifted asset values for the people who were already rich. Nobody was trying to make the rich richer. It just was an accidental byproduct of a correct governmental decision made on a bipartisan basis. And since it was a weird byproduct that occurred in a weird time, it will go away by itself in due course. We can't raise the minimum wage a little and enlarge the social safety net a little. We should be doing that as we prosper. Both parties agree on that. Well, it was perfectly obvious, and he'd made so much money in the other technique that it was hard for him to leave something that had worked so well. But it was not going to scale. So when he started looking for investment values in great businesses that were temporarily under pressure, it changed everything for the better. Now we could scale up to the big time.
You mentioned that you think that Tim Sloan could still be or should still be the CEO of Wells Fargo?
Yeah, if I were running the world, Tim Sloan would still be the CEO of Wells Fargo.
Well, why did he leave then?
Well, he made this decision, but he was being pushed hard. He did it for the benefit of the company. There was just so much of this partisan hatred was washing off against Wells Fargo. It's understandable. He was there for a long time. The company had defrauded its own customers. Nobody was seemingly being punished for it in some people's minds. Listen, 2 CEOs left under pressure. I regard that as a lot of punishment. So I don't think these people were failing with their anger. They removed 2 CEOs. But now they went out, it's like Tim Sloan was not responsible for the crazy incentive system that created the trouble. So they threw him out the way you'd take out the charwoman when you raid a gambling establishment. We made mistakes, but they weren't because we kept it simple. I would say that the chief advantage that Berkshire has had in accumulating a good record is that we have avoided the pompous bureaucratic systems. We've tried to give power to very talented people and let them make very quick decisions. I think you'll be surprised at how well both Warren and I are capable of stepping back when we feel our powers are too far deteriorated.
Have you talked about that?
Sure. And Warren has told people to speak up when the time comes. If we've been rational all this way, do you think we're not going to try and be rational right to the bitter end? And by the way, it's working fine. It's amazing how good this next generation is. And they're steeped in our non-bureaucratic ways. There's these big bureaucracies, they think the work is done if you get it out of your inbox and into somebody else's inbox. That is not getting it done. Getting it done is when it's done, not when it's in somebody else's inbox. And if everybody's in a big committee meeting all the time, you're worn out at the end of the day and you haven't done anything. I don't think we have a master plan of knowing where the opportunities are. We're trying to find intelligent things to do with a torrent of surplus cash. And we've always had a torrent of surplus cash. And we're always looking for intelligent things to do with it. And if we find things that are intelligent to do, we do it. And if we don't find anything, we let the cash build up. A politician that's in the business of howling about something, trying to create a sense of outrage, they're always complaining about something. And it is true that a lot of people, it got so popular to purchase shares that some people repurchased them even when they were too high priced. We will never do that. We're only going to buy them back if they're too cheap. But of course that ought to be done. If you had a partnership of 3 of your crippled relatives and one of them needed some money, wouldn't you buy out the crippled relative with the company's money? It's just simple morality. But I do think it's being overdone by some people, and it undoubtedly is being done to prop up values, which I regard as an improper use of the share repurchasing technique.
Should there be laws about that?
No. There are laws, but we shouldn't be telling people what the right price is. Everything influences you in your past life, and yes, of course it influenced me. I never wanted to be in a big bureaucracy. I was well toward the bottom. I finally got to be a second lieutenant in the Army. I was way down in the ranks, and nobody gave a damn what I thought about any subject. They just gave me a little job to do, and I was supposed to do it. And of course I didn't like that as well as having a freer rein to control my own destiny and so on. So I am much better adapted to being a capitalist operator than I am to being a cog in a bureaucracy. My way of thinking will work for anybody, of trying to be very rational and disciplined. So I think that much. But to flit around to various careers and go into the other fellow's professional territory and try and outdo him and do all kinds of things like that, I think will not work for most people. And so I always I'm always being visited by young men who say, I'm practicing law and I don't like it. I'd rather be a billionaire. How can I do it? And I tell them, well, I'll tell you a story. A young man goes to see Mozart. And he says, Mozart, I want to start composing symphonies. And Mozart said, how old are you? And the guy says, 22. And he says, you're too young to do symphonies. And the guy says, yes, but you were 10 years old when you were composing symphonies. And Mozart says, yes, but I wasn't running around asking other people how to do it. I don't think that what worked in one era has to be duplicated in another. I don't think what we're doing would work for many people. I think it was an historical accident. We didn't do it on purpose. We just sort of drifted into it. When it worked, we fanned the flames. But we didn't create it with any forethought. And I think some later generation will have some